The views expressed here on Now See Here are not necessarily those of the sponsors, advertisers, Jack Criss, the host, or Roddy Merritt. Governor Ronnie Musgrove, former Governor Ronnie Musgrove of the state of Mississippi is my guest. Jumping ahead again a little bit, you went to Ole Miss.
Did.
And did you know right off the bat, were you going to fulfill your father's wishes of obtaining a Juris Doctorate? Was that what your plans were initially? And what year did you enter Ole Miss, Governor?
I decided when I was 8 years old that I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
So I did a number of things.
Trajectory.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I would look back now and change if I could because it did not follow protocol. But at the same time, that's what inspired me. I never thought my undergraduate graduation was nearly important as law school graduation because that's what I wanted to do. However, when you're the first person in your family to ever graduate and you look at your mom and say, I need to go work and I'm just going to graduate in absentia and let them send me my diploma because my real graduation will be law school, I never realized how much I hurt her in that regard because had one of our children told me I'm not going to walk, I would have gotten into a big argument about that because it's a big deal for the parents
right.
as well as it is for the students. So that's one thing I would go back and change if you ask me. But at the same time, to answer your question, it was early on that I determined that I wanted to go to law school. It was early on when I determined that I wanted to go to Ole Miss. The only reason I did not start at Ole Miss is that Northwest offered me several scholarships and an opportunity to go there and have most of my schooling paid for. And since I paid for all of my school, in undergraduate and law school, I thought that was the best course to take. So I went to Northwest for 2 years, had a tremendous experience at Northwest, and then went to Ole Miss. Now, you asked the question when. I graduated from high school in 1974. I went to Northwest till 76, and then I was at Ole Miss from 76 to 78. And if some of your listeners are about my age, I graduated in 78 with a number of friends from Jackson that I went to Ole Miss with, and then graduated from law school in 81, 3 years later.
And when you were there at Ole Miss and when you were in law school, did you have any particular mentors or teachers, professors who really made a profound impact on you? And also, the second part of this question, was it during that time that politics entered the picture or your mind?
My nickname in high school was Governor. I somehow hate to admit that. And the reason is that, again, I was in high school at a time when Watergate took place. It was the first time in my experience in education that our history teachers and our civics teachers and others brought the TV on the rolling cart into class and actually played it, and we watched the Watergate hearings.
We watched some of it.
Yeah. And so for me, I seemed to have an understanding of what was going on. A lot of the members of the class would ask me because they could basically care less all of the minutia of what was happening, and I seemed to have an appreciation, and so they kidded me when I was in high school about being in politics and being a part of politics, but that was something that interested me greatly.
Jack Criss here with the Now See Here podcast. Governor Ronnie Musgrove is our guest. We've got about 7 minutes left of the first part here, Governor. Specifically, after you got out of Ole Miss, what did you do? And your first political bid or office, let's go into that.
You asked me also people who had an influence.
Yes, I'm sorry, mentors.
I had several. Joanne Reed at Northwest was a real big mentor and a believer in me. I ran for state president of Phi Beta Lambda, which is a business organization, and also ran as for national president when I was in my junior year and was elected national president of Phi Beta Lambda. The convention was almost identical to a Republican or Democratic national convention in the way that it
Delegates and that kind of thing? Signs?
Each state would have signs, and it was a foreshadowing for me of watching that as it played out in my life. So yes, those were people who had a lot of confidence in me. And in law school, there were a lot of people likewise, and a lot of classmates that you develop friendships with that we still have today that I looked up to and respected because they were smart, they were capable, they wanted to help, and they did, and I'm very appreciative of that. Once I started practicing law in Batesville, which is where I wanted to practice, the state senator decided, Charles Ray Nix, that he was not going to run again for re-election, and it left the seat open. I had a number of people to talk to me about it, and I was interested in the seat. And so as it turned out, there were 4 great candidates, in my opinion, who ran. And I was probably the least likely one of the 4 to come out as a winner. But as it turned out, I won the race. I'm not sure there's a House in District 10, Senate District 10, that I did not knock on. Approximately 52,000 people in the Senate District. And I believe I simply outworked my opponents and was elected.